Bonjour, bonsoir, wherever you are. I hope this video finds you well. In this video, I'm going to talk about and review the visual identity of the upcoming 300 million Parisian bike network, now known as Vélo Île-de-France. All the links to the documents and maps used are in the description. Last year, a committee made up of representatives of the region, the different départements, cycling association, and the CEREMA were gathered for a presentation of the network's visual identity and its details. First of all, we need to talk about the networks that already exist here in Paris. The first one is the City of Paris network, or what they call the recommended network. If you see a green and white sign in Paris, you're probably on one of these lines. I was only able to find an online map a few days ago after wondering why I didn't know about this network. Well, now I do know a little bit more, and so do you. And I also know that there's almost no promotion for this network, or at least none that have reached me. The signs are present, not always well placed, but in some cases there is no continuity. I want to challenge myself and try to see how good or bad it is. Tell me in the comments if you'd like to see me go and ride on these lines. The second network is the Vélopolitain, and today it's seemingly defunct. The main feature of these lines was they simply followed the existing metro lines and tried to keep the colors and numbers familiar to Parisians. I believe this project was merged with the national one, but I can't confirm. The third network is the network developed by the Métropole du Grand Paris, and this network is also called Vélopolitain because why not? And it's supposed to follow the new metro lines, or at least link them together. The fourth network is the Olympic network. Watch this space. And finally, the fifth network, and our topic today, the one carried and paid for by the region and its transport office, Île-de-France Mobilité. For years, the network proposed by the cycling associations was called RER Vélo, a callback to the already popular RER and its function as a fast and reliable regional network. The plan was also to follow the RER lines as support. The name stuck and was used when talking about the project, but it was changed this year to VIF, or Vélo Île-de-France. VIF is also an adjective meaning fast, dynamic, or lively. This will be the logo we'll see on most maps in the near future. It looks similar to the Île-de-France Mobilité logo and uses the same colors we can find on most buses, trains, trams, and some metros. Now we're going to use the document showed during the public presentation of the network. It's focused on guidelines for visual communication that we'll discuss and review. The document first reveals how the different paths will integrate with the rest of the regional scheme. The region uses those round edge squares for the train lines, the RER lines, and there was a time when they tried to have the metro lines be squares as well, but we were saved. The iconic RATP circles remain. For trams, they kept it simple, but the region replaced these with these two short lines of the same color on top and below the name of the line. There are also pictograms for cable car and fluvial transport, two networks in early development. And finally, the lines for the cycling network, the general bike symbol, and the colors chosen for the upcoming 11 lines. Not much to be said here, it simply follows the pattern that is becoming more and more recognizable in the region. The regional map of the network is similar to EDFM's schematic round edge square map for the metro and the train network. Thankfully, it is much less busy, and it reminds me a lot of the London Tube map. I'm really not a fan of the regional map, but this one does its job. It gives me a general appreciation of my location and my bearings. Sadly, that is all it does. You have no real sense of distance. Paris is reduced to a square, and if you look outside, it just becomes very vague. I have another nitpick with the naming of the lines. Parisians, and to a lesser extent Francilians, suck at knowing their region. There's a large number of small towns or cities locating in more rural areas that I have no idea about. So how do I guess which of these lines goes from north to south if I don't know where it starts and where it ends? I know it's a very classic way of naming things in the region, the origin, the destination. This is how it works in many systems here, but sometimes in order to help stupid people like me, you can have nicknames or alternative names, descriptive titles like the North and South Line, the East and West Line, the River Path, or even the Green Line. They did it with the two circle lines with Petite and Grande Ceinture. We also get a preview of what the maps on the post should look like. Nothing groundbreaking here, they look like what you'd find at tram stops or on some screens inside the metro or the RER. I would though like to see more detail on those maps. With lines this long, I don't see much point in showing a long list of the farthest locations. If you look on the side of the map, you will see time indications, and every other stations are about 1 hour apart. Most people would probably travel about less than 2 hubs. If I take my own commute as an example, it's about 10 kilometers and takes me about 45 minutes. This represents about 3 nodes on this design. I don't need to know that train line L connects to Conflans when I'm in Nogent-sur-Marne. Instead, why not focus on the upcoming 3 hubs, the ones I'm more likely to go to, and add more detail? As for the signs, what do they currently look like? Well, going back to the Paris recommended network, these signs are the only ones I've seen within the city limits, but my experience is limited. I don't think this map is available anywhere on the street. I was only able to find it online. This network does not have a proper name or a clear visual identity. Its appearance solely relies on the national guidelines or the designs that you would normally encounter elsewhere. White metal signs with green text and outline, the next few locations and the distance, and sometimes the name or logo of the network. Outside of Paris, I'm aware of one other network, that of the Val-de-Marne department, with 27 lines. Tell me in the comments if you'd like me to review them. They also use the same national guidelines. And here are a few examples of signs in different networks elsewhere in France. Now, what will the signs look like for us in the Paris region? For staking signs, I think that's the phrase you use for signs that are used as milestones and repeated on the line. The committee wants coherent, easily identifiable signs showing the line of the path you're on and the next 2 hubs or main locations. The signs will be of the same blue tone used in the IDFM logo instead of the green used elsewhere. There's also a specific type of signs for when you're close to a line of the network and another for temporary disruption, for when there's construction, etc. And these signs will be yellow as it's already the case today. Not choosing green is a very bold move, and this should help the network be easy to recognize once it's properly rolled out. Many transport services already have this combination of colors, notably the region's bike sharing and bike renting schemes, as well as the regional travel card. The next topic was road markings, with the plan to paint the outside of the path with the color of the line you're on, and arrows at the intersections. I just wonder how it will look on sections with several bike lines. Here's an example of what Lyon does on its path: a large square with the number of the line as well as the ending location. And here, Grenoble has a large number, 1 dash for the color of the line, the direction, and the next main hubs. Finally, there was a section on street furniture and how it can be decorated or dressed to direct cyclists on the proper path. The presentation shows examples of poles, bollards and barriers with what I believe to be small white and blue stickers as alternatives to signs. They also show the possibility to use actual milestones, and I'm completely up for it. Unfortunately, last June, the region revealed an updated design for the signs, one with light blue edges, a black background and white letters using the IDFM font. Just one thing, Valérie, how are we supposed to see them at night? I really don't like them, and I don't understand how no one thought of this. I hope there's enough time to go back and at least get a white background. Finally, I did not expect anyone to reinvent visual communication overnight, but the color choice can't be ignored. I have no idea how the region convinced the state not to use the national guidelines for this one. And I can't believe the request or the suggestion came from the Cycling Association or the département. Ultimately, it's still a good thing that they at least thought to unify the design. It could have been a mess if every corner of the region had their own specific detail. But what do you think? Do you prefer the national design or the future regional design? What type of signs does your city have for cycling? Tell me in the comments. Please like the video if you liked it and subscribe for more on cycling in Paris. Thanks for watching.